I wanted to do a chat on civilizations, ancient civilizations, and their advanced technology. There's a few theories that are passed around that aliens gave ancient civilizations their advanced technology, but I believe the Bible actually has a far more logical and consistent view on this, and more likely um, hypothesis. When we read the Bible, it talks about that before the flood, people weren't dying and there was advanced um, ages. Now, there's a lot of things found, like animals that and insects that are giant, and we know that insects breathe through their skin. So there was definitely different environmental changes before the flood than there are now, because insects can't grow very large because they can't breathe enough oxygen through the skin. So whether this what they were or not seems to have given pre-flood civilizations greater lifespans, and there's people have matched the biblical account of the people and their ages, how they declined after the flood, and it's a perfect genetic decay curve. So it's quite well known. Um, if these advanced civilizations are living, these people in the flood before the flood are living for like hundreds and hundreds of years, and there's no reason to think that they're not all genius level. Only the evolutionary mindset or brainwashing that is permeates society has made people think that ancient people were silly, like monkeys and dumb and cavemen. But there's not necessarily even close to true. I would say Adam and Eve and the descendants before the flood would have been genius level IQ. They would have just been the smartest people who have ever lived. And their civilization, they had about just over 1600 years before the planet was flooded and wiped them out. What they could have achieved in 1600 years with extended lifespans is possibly anything. We don't know their technology. We only know that 1600 years, the last 1600 years, has been amazing progress. So if they even got close to some of the technology that we developed before they were destroyed by the flood, then we shouldn't be too surprised by ancient gadgets or technology and not ascribe it to aliens. Okay, so anyway, 8 people were saved on the ark, and Noah, Shem, Ham, Japheth, Noah's wife and the daughters, our wives, they were all saved, 8 souls, and they would have been populating and starting the early civilization post flood, and the early civilizations would have been incredibly technological because of the knowledge that Noah and his sons possessed from pre-flood knowledge. And so there, we would expect the civilizations to have this sort of technological knowledge. After their deaths, it seems to be there was a decline in this knowledge, and the world sort of went through a dark age, and it's come back out of it. So yeah, what would we expect? We would expect like the early civilizations to have a high degree of technology and building uh, special building and construction techniques that have obviously been lost in history, and that's what we find. So this fits perfectly with the biblical account of history, and we don't have to induce some aliens did it, or aliens came and gave them technology. In fact, aliens is, I think, personally a very silly explanation. For one thing, we know biology, um, that life begets life. Life comes from life. That is a law in biology. It's never been broken. And chemistry can't support life from non-materials. That process doesn't happen. So they can't build a cell from chemicals. It just doesn't happen. And evolution itself doesn't really have a mechanism for giving information to increase information in the cells or in DNA. So it's a dead end street, I think, for life to evolve. Totally. That means if life didn't evolve on Earth, it didn't evolve anywhere else. So you can't say it was seeded here by ancient civilization or people like aliens, because if it didn't evolve here chemically from non-life, it can't have evolved somewhere else from non-life. So it couldn't evolve on another planet for the aliens to have evolved. Unless you say there's a God who created them. Now, why would you do that when we've already got an account of a creator here? So evolution is personally the cause for why people even believe in or even say aliens planted life on the Earth in the first place. And chemistry, biology all can't support that. So no evolved life from non-life here, and no evolved life on any other planet. Okay, it's just the way logically, if life evolved here, then it must have evolved somewhere else. That's why aliens was thought to for them to have existed. But so if you get an honest scientist, a microbiologist, um, they can tell you that's impossible. Life can't evolve. A cell can't evolve from non-living material. Okay, so the law of biogenesis, life begets life. Um, yeah, so we have a biblical account that fits perfectly with ancient civilization. We don't have to go any further than that. We don't have to say aliens started this. In fact, the early civilization technology actually points to the fact the Bible is actually accurate. It's what we would expect. Noah's sons to bring that technology when they're building the early civilizations. It's quite well known. Egypt was sons of one of the sons of Noah went over towards Egypt, and they were in the construction there. And Shem, for instance, lived 502 years after the flood. He survived a long time, and it looks like he outlived about 8 generations of people, and was even alive in the when Abraham was alive, which is a long, long time later. So um, we have people who are living longer than their descendants, and so he was outliving his descendants, which is the reason for the myths of the early religions of the gods. Basically, Noah and his sons were deified, made into the religions that went from Babylon, Egypt, Rome, Greece, around the world, and were turned into gods. But they were basically the just the post-flood people with their long lifespans. Um, in fact, if you study it, you'll find Nimrod and his wife from Babylon are the ones that started the false religions after the flood. Anyway, hope that's helpful and insightful, and maybe gets you even thinking a little bit and realizing the Bible's a far better explanation than any other explanation that is put around at the moment.